Good afternoon, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Jeanne White is the producer and writes a beautiful blog. Please read it and share it. I often say to the listeners, please give me topics that you would like to discuss. And so one person in my group, my hashtag Kick Alzheimer's S movement, asked me to do a audio cast on acceptance. There's many different kinds of acceptance. So I am going to do a show on acceptance of your loved one's situation. There are many different kinds of acceptance. There is the acceptance of oneself, isn't there? We have to accept ourselves before we accept someone else. That could be a whole other show. When our loved ones get a diagnosis of dementia or whatever other illness, that is hard for the person to accept getting that diagnosis and for their loved ones. Acceptance, folks, is not easy. And the reason for this topic is because I did a post in my group, hashtag Kick Alzheimer's S movement, about acceptance of a loved one's situation. And it is not easy at all to see your loved one lose their skills. And your loved one knows they're losing their skills. At least that was my experience. Folks, I'm not an expert. I can only share with you my own personal experience. And I hope by me sharing my personal experience, it will help you to avoid mistakes and unnecessary heartbreak. However, I had to learn for myself, and that's how we learn, right? We don't want our children to make the same mistakes, but they have to in a way, so they learn from them. So accepting your loved one's diagnosis and them losing their skills, trust me, is very difficult. I had a very hard time accepting Matt's diagnosis. He was only 56. Matt was at peace with it. However, he did not like the fact that he had early onset Alzheimer's. And folks, I want to just go over briefly, just because you accept the illness, the stage that that person is in, doesn't mean you have to like it, okay? Of course, you're not going to like it. I didn't like it either. But to have peace of heart, peace of mind, you need to accept what is going on and to adjust yourself. And you know, on Chatting with Betsy, I do not sugarcoat. I never have. I am not going to start now. I had such a hard time, and I could get emotional, with accepting the changes in that. And sometimes I was mean to him, and I would yell. And of course, I would ask his forgiveness afterwards. And in Matt's sweet way, he would say, "That's okay, booby. I'm sorry." He had nothing to be sorry for. And caregivers, show yourself the same love and grace and kindness that you show your loved one. Show it to yourself. And do not beat yourself up. I'm not going to apologize for being emotional. This is an emotional topic for me. Especially since a year ago, Matt went to the emergency room, and because of his agitation, and he didn't have an infection, he was just at the end of life. And I had to accept that. I did not like it. But I knew deep in my heart that Matt didn't have long to live. That's not easy to accept, folks. Seeing your loved one lose their skills, seeing your loved one be agitated and hallucinate is not easy at all to accept. Let's be realistic. Who likes that? Who wants to accept that? Like I said, you don't have to like it, but you need to accept that this is the way your loved one is. And when you accept that, you are able to have peace about it and manage it. It doesn't mean you like it, but you accept it. We have to learn in the land of dementia, and in all areas of life really, that you have to adjust and be flexible. You think you're going down one road and or you're sailing, in the oceans of life, and your course changes, you have to adjust your sails. So in the life of a dementia person, as a caregiver, they can't adjust their sails. You have to adjust your sails and how you respond and how you treat your loved one. I used to remind Matt, before I knew any better, that he was holding me back because it took longer for him to do things. I literally had to get up 4 hours before I went to work because Matt took a long time to do things. I shouldn't have said that. They know that they cannot do things like they used to, and they don't like it. It was hard for me to accept that the end of life was soon. But I had to, and I had to readjust, and it's constant readjustment. Our loved ones pick up on our energy. Now, when I heard that, I thought that was like kooky, that it was off the wall. It is not kooky. It is not off the wall. It's a reality. It's the truth. When I would get upset, and if I raised my voice, Matt would get more anxious. They do pick up on our energy. Now, I know, listeners, it is impossible to be pleasant 24/7, and it is hard not to show your emotions. And yes, you are going to snap at times. You're human. And when you are running on adrenaline fumes, yes, it's very easy to snap. Be gracious to yourself. I can't even say that enough. It was hard for me to accept that Matt could no longer do basic things. I had to shave him, brush his teeth, wipe his rear end, change his diaper, all these things. It was really hard to adjust. I did not like it, but it was what I had to do. It was that this is what needed to be done. I can no longer do this. And why make your loved ones feel any worse than what they already are feeling? I came home from work one day, and Matt was crying because he said he hated the way he was. And that broke my heart. And I hugged him. Give me a minute, folks. And I told him that I loved him. And it's not his fault. And that Josh and I love him. And we are here to help him. Everyone is different, folks. Everyone's journey is different. Some folks, when they have dementia, they don't realize that they've lost their skills and they try to do things anyway. Some people do realize they've lost their skills and they feel bad about it. My mother-in-law also had Alzheimer's, and I remember her crying that she couldn't work the washing machine anymore. And she said, "Betsy, I cannot even work the washing machine." And I said, "Don't worry about it, Mom. I will wash your clothes." Folks, there is no easy answers to how you accept your loved one's condition. The only advice I can give you is the sooner you accept it, the better it is for the both of you, and that you can move on. I had to accept that Matt needed to go on hospice. And that was hard. Did I like it? Absolutely not. Matt was agitated, and I didn't want Matt, knocked out. I wanted to be able to enjoy life somewhat, but the medication wasn't working. And I kept, telling hospice that. Folks, I want you to understand something. I want you to listen to me very carefully. Yes, accept your loved one as they are. Readjust. Accept your loved one's situation. Do not, and I repeat, do not accept disrespect and incompetence from your hospice team or your doctor, a nurse, your medical staff, your medical team, your hospice team. That is a different story. Nobody should accept that. That's a total different subject. Don't think, oh, I am, concerned about my husband's condition and they are not paying attention to it. Do not accept that, because that is unacceptable. You need to be an advocate then and take measures and do some phone calls. Matt's condition, as far as his agitation, worsened. And I had to make phone calls, and I was not listened to. I was not believed. They didn't believe me that Matt had pain. And so as it ended up, Matt had to go up to the hospice unit in the hospital. And then they realized that I was right. And they saw what I was going through and how Matt was agitated and had the nerve to say to me, "Now we see what you're talking about." And then even as Matt was in the hospital unit and the medications that they were giving him did not work, they had to give Matt stronger medication to help his agitation and make him comfortable. And they explained to me that when, if he were to get this medication, he would be knocked out. Do I still want him to have it? And I said yes. That was really hard for me. And it still is when I think about it. Hard. That, okay, I'm giving him the medication, and now he's going to be zonked out. But before he had the next level of heavy-duty drugs, he had already spit out his food and was refusing. Well, not refusing. His body just knew he was dying, and he wasn't eating or drinking anymore. So I said yes. Give him the medications. and make him comfortable as possible. Was that easy for me to accept? No, not at all. It was not acceptable. But I had to accept it. I didn't like it, but I had to accept it. And I knew Matt was going to die. And folks, I'm going to be really blunt here. Some people don't like it, but that's okay. From the time of diagnosis of any dementia to the end of life, and there is no cure for any dementia, so the result is death. Now you may say, oh, Betsy, it sounds harsh, but it's the truth. There's no survivors, there's no cure. What happens in between diagnosis and that end of life is different for everybody. Everyone's journey is different. Everybody with dementia is different. There's a saying, when you see one person with dementia, that's all you see, is that one person. Everybody is different. When you come to the reality that, okay, this is the new situation now what do we do? This is what you have to say to yourself. What can I do to make my loved one feel loved, comfortable, and safe? And that's what it really comes down to, folks, is making your loved one feel comfortable, loved, and safe. And, some people have trouble with accepting the fact their loved one needs to be placed. Placement. Caregivers feel guilty about placing their loved ones. A lot of them do, not everybody, and you shouldn't. Let me make this very clear. Hear me out. A caregiver should never feel guilty about placing their loved one in a facility. Now, there's people that will judge you. You know what? Screw them. The ones who criticize the most do the least, as far as I'm concerned. There comes to a point where you cannot take care of your loved one. Doesn't mean you fail them. They require more care than you can give them, and they do need to be placed. That is hard to accept. If Matt would have survived his hospice stay, then I probably would have taken him home, and they probably would have had to place him because it was getting to a point I couldn't take care of Matt at home. And I'm glad that Matt went to heaven and that he did not come home to suffer. Now, that might sound like I'm being mean, and people might judge me about that, but I don't care. Matt's time on earth was coming to an end, and I wanted Matt to go and be at peace and be in heaven. Now, whether you believe in heaven or not, that's your individual belief. I'm not here to discuss beliefs. Whatever helps you get through that time, that's a personal choice. I found that having faith helped me to accept my situation, Matt's situation. So that is another way for acceptance is that you have to have faith that things will work out, whether you believe in God or whatever your choice of belief is. It is a difficult decision to make. Putting someone on hospice might be difficult for people to decide, and some people it may not be, just like placing someone in a facility. For some it is easy to decide that, and for some it's not. But listeners, and if you are a caregiver, there is no perfect caregiver, okay? There is not a perfect caregiver. And if you think you are a perfect caregiver or you think you were a perfect caregiver, please get in contact with me because I want to interview you. I want to see you. I want to talk to you. I want to interview you if you were the perfect caregiver. Because we're not perfect. We're human beings. And everyone's acceptance is at different times. And, you know, it's really an individual thing. I am not ashamed to say I went for counseling when Matt was probably, it was 5 years ago. So he was probably midway. It was very difficult to accept changes. I remember one day Matt said to me, I gave him his clothes, and I said, okay, here's your clothes, get dressed. And he just stood there. When I said, well, why aren't you getting dressed? He said, I don't know how. I said, what do you mean you don't know how? You just did it yesterday. And folks, someone can lose their skills literally overnight. Things change and progress at different times. I'm thankful that Matt really was pretty good for until the last 2 years of his life. So for 8 years, I mean, you know, I had to cut his food and get him dressed, but as far as wearing the pens and help with the bathroom, it was probably his last 2 or 3 years. Definitely the last 2 years of wearing a disposable diaper. That was not easy either. And our son Josh had a really hard time accepting that, okay, now I have to change Dad's diaper. And I'm thankful that Josh did it, and he accepted his dad as he was. And he was more patient with Matt than I was. But then again, he had more sleep than I did. So acceptance is different for everyone. I highly recommend, and I know it's hard now with the pandemic going on, mental health counseling. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing to be ashamed of. I am going for counseling now over the phone to deal with grieving. This is new territory for me. Dealing with grieving. I never lost a spouse before. I lost my dad, I lost my mother-in-law, but a spouse or a partner is much different. It's a different relationship. I have accepted that Matt is gone. It seems surreal, but I have accepted this is my life now. It's my new, different life, I call it. Is it easy? No, it's not easy. But I accept it. And I know it's time I have to move on. It's a different fork in the road. If I didn't let Alzheimer's destroy me, I was not going to let grieving destroy me either. Yes, are there days that I cry? Yes. I don't cry all day. There's moments. Will I ever stop crying when I visit Matt's cemetery? I doubt it. I will always miss Matt. That's reality. I can't say a conclusion. That will always be. But I have to keep doing my mission and my vision. And I am doing this radio show. It's a blessing for me. It's a privilege. It's an honor. It feeds my soul. And accepting your loved one's condition, folks. Find a passion. Find something that feeds your soul and do it. I started Passionate World Talk Radio. It'll be 2 years next month, talking to Jeanne White, going on her show, Social Connections. Doing that show, talking to Jeanne every week on the show about different subjects, helped keep me focused. And yes, Matt would talk in the background. And Matt complained, stop talking about me. But yet he would say, that's good what you're doing, Betsy. And I know that Matt would want me to continue on. I would want Matt to continue on if I went first. It's hard, folks, to accept different situations that come up in our lives, whether it is someone with dementia or someone with cancer, whatever illness it is. My teacher used to say to me, Betsy, life isn't fair. And my teacher was right. Life isn't fair. My dad used to say to me, Betsy, you have to roll with the punches. I didn't know what he meant back then, but I sure do know it now. Folks, you have to roll with the punches. You have to roll with what life hands you. And it's not, easy to accept, but you need to accept it to make your life easier. Why stress yourself out? And this is why I encourage everyone to be educated about different dementias. And if you have a loved one who is diagnosed, read up on that particular dementia. You could Google it. There's so much available now on the internet. This is why I encourage people, join support groups, whether where you live or also online on Facebook. I went crazy joining support groups because I didn't have any support. We learn from each other. We learn from each other's experience. I hope this topic that I talked about, acceptance, helped somebody today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. My own Facebook page is Betsy Wurzel, Wurzel. That's my personal Facebook page. You can PM me. I have a support group that I started because I didn't want anyone to feel alone in this journey. You can have any dementia. You do not have to have dementia. You don't even have to be a caregiver to join my support group. My support group is for education, inspiration, learn how to be an advocate. And to be an advocate, you need to be educated. And feel free to join my support group, #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement on Facebook. Join as many support groups as you can. I belong to more than one. Excuse me. I encourage my fellow Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement members to join more than one support group, to go on the webinars. The Spotlight Foundation Dementia Spotlight Foundation has free webinars. Go on YouTube. Look up Teepa Snow. There's many people out there that have videos on YouTube that are educational. Just be careful. But if you want good support, I would recommend the Dementia Spotlight Foundation. Go on their website and look at their free webinars that they are offering. There's books out there on Amazon. Go to Amazon and look at books about dementia. There's a lot to learn in this journey, folks, and you learn as you go along. And I can tell you personally, reading about hallucinations and end of life and terminal agitation and seeing it in front of you is two different things. But at least when you know about it, you know somewhat what to expect. And, you need to be educated to be an advocate, because when you go to advocate for yourself or your loved one, you have to know what you're talking about. I'm going to be doing a series talking to different people and how they became an advocate, so stay tuned for my Being an Advocate series. And if you miss any of this audio cast, I am on iHeart, Google Plus. I am on Spreaker. I'm on Spotify. It is free to subscribe. And just look up Chatting with Betsy. And please share this audio cast. I want to thank everybody for listening. Be well, be safe, be kind to yourself, whether you're a caregiver or not. Show yourself love and grace. Show your loved one love and grace. You're going to snap. You're human. And just forgive yourself, okay? Because we've all been there. And caregivers, you are not alone. No one should ever be alone on this journey, and you are not. I'm here for you. Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement is here for you. Many other support groups. Thank you again, and thank you for your support. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy and Passionate World Talk Radio. Till they chat again, bye-bye.